Okay. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for the introduction. And I would also like to resume screen sharing. I am delighted to be having Maxine and Donalda co-hosting with me today's delightful event. Maxine is a highly experienced, qualified educator from K2 to the graduate level. She has spent decades shaping the minds of future generations. She's a multi-talented, now retired, but still highly active SVA Prana Vidushi, who took so many courses with Vaidya Mishra, and who is now actively devoting her time to help further educate the rest of us who need more Ayurvedic guidance, but she's also very active in her Rotary Club, where they do amazing works for great projects to bring about peace. So she's a dear friend, and I'm really honored to have her help me continue Vaidya's legacy and work for a growing audience. Thank you so much, Maxine, for being such a wonderful friend and being on board. And also, Donalda Fredine will be co-hosting. She's another incredible woman that I look up to in so many ways, and such a good friend as well, from 15 years probably. Again, another Ayurvedic, great, passionate, very passionate about Ayurveda and anything Ayurvedic, studied with Vaidya Mishra as well as with some other teachers before, and currently completing her doctoral work in probably Ayurveda, but in Vedic studies. And again, very wonderful, inspiring person to have around and to help carry forward Vaidya Mishra's legacy as well for so many. And she will be co-hosting today. Thank you so much, Donalda. So today I'm really very excited to be sharing this course we have put together from all of Vaidya's materials, but we are also celebrating today his birthday, which is actually on the full moon of this month, but he was born on August 5th, which would be tomorrow, but we are having this event today. So celebrating Vaidya Mishra's birthday for us right now means remembering everything that he was and everything that he did, everything that he brought for us, remembering the stories, the anecdotes, and the highlights of the beautiful legacy that he has left us with. So the best way to do it is we put together a wonderful little movie, and we're just going to play that and watch that. So I will just.
Let me give you a little bit highlight about my lineage when I'm talking about Swa. Swa means S word is making Shaka, V means Vansiya, A means Ayurveda. It's called Shaka Vansiya Ayurveda. What is Shaka Vansiya? 5,000 years ago, our family, our ancestors came to India from Shaka Island, which is mentioned in Bhavishya Puran, Matsya Puran, all these ancient texts. The whole event has been discussed there. So we were originally in Shaka Island, and then Lord Krishna's son Sam, whose mother's name was Jambavati, by curse he got leprosy, and then Narada, the sage, and Sam went to Shaka Island and brought 10 families. And since then, we are in India, mostly in Jharkhand and UP and some in Rajasthan. We were sun worshippers. We have a lot of vibration of the sun. Then what happened? About 10 generations ago, we moved to a village in Bihar that's called Vaidya, the Vaidya village, where my birth happened. And since then, I know since then, based on my horoscope, that yes, I'm going to be healer and taking over the lineage thing. That's our origin.
Vaidya Ramakant Mishra was born into a family of Ayurvedic physicians, also known as Vaidyas. The word Vaidya comes from the word Vidya, which means total knowledge, and a Vaidya is a person who has total knowledge. They are more than just physicians. A Vaidya has knowledge of the whole field of life, cosmic and individual, not just medicine. Vaidya Mishra often spoke of inheriting an ancestral tradition of Ayurveda. His forefathers were known as Raj Vaidyas, physicians to the royalty of India. Vaidya Mishra's lineage, Shakadwipiya, literally means lineage of the Shakas. According to the Mahabharata, Shakadwipa, or the land of the Shakas, lay over the mountains to the north and west of India. In modern day terms, this corresponds to the area in Central Asia that extends from the Caspian Sea in the west to the Altai Mountains. The Shakas are often grouped in with Scythian cultures, but were their own distinguished group of people. However, in Vaidya Mishra's family lore, their history goes back even further, back to mythical times. The tale of the arrival of the Shakadwipiya Brahmins to India has been orally passed down for many centuries in Vaidya Mishra's family. In Vaidya Mishra's own words, this is how it happened. My family belongs to a caste of Vaidya Brahmins who still live in eastern and central India. The Shamba Purana tells a story about our caste. Lord Krishna called on Narada, the celestial sage who roams all the universe, and asked him if there were any healers in the world who could treat the curse of leprosy. Narada told Lord Krishna that he had seen a group of very powerful Vaidyas who specialized in skin diseases on Shakadri Island. Narada called a special conference to choose the 10 most knowledgeable couples from the island. Those 10 couples were transported from the island on the Garuda, the king of the birds. These 10 couples brought certain herbs with them, including Gotukola, Brahmi. The Shakadwipiya Brahmins were also known as Mug Brahmins or Maga Brahmins. Historical commentators have described the Magas as a class of Brahmanas, Brahmin priests, who were worshippers of Surya, the sun god. Scholars have argued that the sun-worshipping Magas, mentioned in ancient Greek and Indian literature, as well as architectural inscriptions, indicate that they were the same group of people as the Magi priests of ancient Iran. Another source narrating their migration to India is the Bhavishya Puran, which shows their connection to the sun. The Maga Brahmanas were originally the inhabitants of Shakadwipiya. In the Mahir clan, a sage was born, whose name was Richiva. This sage had a daughter, Nikshuva by name. She had a son by Surya, or the sun god, and this child was Jaragambu, or Jarashabda. This child, in time, grew up to be the progenitor of the Magga sect. Once, Shambh, the son of Krishna by Jambavati, had an attack of leprosy. Having heard the praises of the sun god from Narada, he offered worship to the sun and got cured of this hateful disease. Out of gratefulness, he resolved to erect a temple of the sun god on the bank of the Chandrabhaga. No local Brahmana, however, agreed to serve as a priest in that sun temple. Hence, Shambh had at last to go to Shakadwipa and contact the Maggas there. He brought 18 families of Magga Brahmana priests from Shakadwipa to Jambudvipa, India. The Maggas, being a sun-worshipping sect, the Magga Brahmanas brought back by Shambh were able to serve Shambha's purpose by acting as the priests of the sun. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus echoes the connection between the Magga Brahmins and the Magi priests by discussing their worship of the sun and saying that whatsoever one of the citizens has leprosy or the white leprosy does not come into the city, nor does he mingle with the other Persians. And they say that they contract these diseases because of having committed some sin against the sun. These priests were known in many different cultures to be very knowledgeable, and Vaidya Mishra is a direct descendant of this line. From his mother's side, he was initiated into the worship of Shakti, the divine feminine. From his maternal grandfather, he learned how to perform rituals and recite chants to enliven the aspect of Mother Divine in all those who came to him. Having been exposed to Ayurveda from childhood, collecting herbs and learning to prepare them, Vaidya Mishra was able to finish his 6 years of college training at the age of 22. Thereafter, he worked with his father for 7 years and learnt the traditional way of treating and managing patients and putting into practice all the knowledge that had been stored in his family for generations. After interning with his father, he set up his own private practice in 3 different cities and was active writing articles and appearing on local TV shows. 9 years later, at the behest of his father, he left his practice to join Maharshi Mahesh Yogi in Holland, founder of the Transcendental Meditation technique. Maharshi was building a council of Ayurvedic healers as part of his project for total global health. Reflecting on Maharshi's contribution to Ayurveda, Vaidya Mishra said, Maharshi has restored consciousness to the understanding of Ayurveda and has made it complete again. This is a tremendous achievement because after the Mughal and British occupations of India, Ayurvedic universities and colleges began to model themselves after the Western system, focusing more on healing disease with herbs rather than understanding and enlivening the full range of life. Ayurveda lost its foundation in human consciousness and therefore became incomplete and fragmented. The ultimate definition of health in Ayurveda is a person who knows Atman, or self-referral consciousness. A true Vaidya has to have personal experience of Atman, or pure consciousness, and must know how to give the patient that experience. A Vaidya must know and understand Vedic physiology and the connection between inner and outer life. This is the complete knowledge of Ayurveda. In 1991, he started working on various projects with Maharshi and toured Japan, Europe, and America. He was the first to detect imbalances in the pulse resulting from exposure to EMF and electricity during an extended trip in London. In 2003, he set up his private practice and established his own herbal company, Chandika.com. Vaidya Mishra's contributions to the field of Ayurveda are vast and many. His teachings of prana, the vibrational heart, the soul, 4 types of toxins, and Ayurvedic pulse diagnosis, amongst a larger array of topics, are unique and have practical uses for healing. In addition, his SPA transdermal marma system and his unique transdermal and transmucosal Ayurvedic formulas have met with great success in the practice of doctors and healers trained in his Ayurvedic protocols. Vaidya Mishra will also be remembered for his contributions towards treating autism, and his students, like Dr. Marianne Teitelbaum, continue using his products and protocols in their daily practice. Vaidya Mishra created these tools for modern-day users of Ayurveda. He taught people how to heal the heart, mind, body, and soul, so we can be more in tune with the rhythms of nature and reach our full potential in life through the help of Shakadwipiya Ayurveda. His wife, Melina Takvorian Mishra, continues the work to preserve and transmit the Sva legacy to future generations.
Share. Can everybody see me or hear me? Okay, wonderful. Okay, so happy birthday to Vaidya Mishra. And the best way to celebrate a man of his stature is to keep the knowledge going and everything that he bequeathed us. And truly the knowledge that he has given us, I mean, you can see from the little material that we put together that he really has a big, timeless aura and lineage behind him. And the knowledge that he shared with us carries that impact. You experience that breadth and wealth and the quality of the eternal that comes through everything that he taught us. Because whatever he taught us is something that you can experience on a personal level. That's the ultimate test of any good knowledge, is that it's not just theory, it's not just words, but you get to taste it and experience it in your own physiology. And that's how it was when he taught us Ayurveda. And specifically when it comes to the topic of toxins in Ayurveda, which is what we will be focusing on today. The thing that one of the greatest contributions that he brought about was understanding how the term toxins is not a flat term. There is a great depth of knowledge in the sense that there's different kinds of toxins in Ayurveda, specifically in Shakadwipiya Ayurveda. There are a lot of articles nowadays that try to even debunk the idea that toxins exist, that detox is even a real thing, and they say it's just another fad that's gonna, fade away. But toxins are actually not only real, but there's different kinds of them, and they travel through different paths. And if you want to do a detox, you have to understand what type they are, where they're coming from, where they're lodged. So there's a lot of detail, and there's a lot of Ayurvedic science that goes behind this topic. And it's a very central and crucial topic for overall health and well-being. So this is one of the most important contributions, perhaps, of Vaidya Mishra's teachings and the Sva lineage, is this completely unique understanding of toxins in our day-to-day life, and how also to address them and correct them. So primarily at the outset, there's two types of toxins. There's the physical and the vibrational. So the physical toxin means that it's something that you can see or measure under the microscope, or actually, see, and you get actual, very concrete physical symptoms or experiences. You feel a certain way after you ingest a certain type of toxin. The vibrational toxin, on the other hand, is more subtle, it's insidious, it's more, if you want, silent and slow. It penetrates very slowly and silently, like you don't feel anything, but it goes deeper and it takes longer to come forth in terms of symptoms, and it doesn't work slowly. So that's the first category you have to distinguish when you're talking about toxins. You have to know what kind of toxin you're talking about, whether it's physical or vibrational, because knowing what type it is will also dictate and guide the treatment, and you'll be able to address it correctly and take care of it and get rid of it. The term for toxin is visha. So 4 types of vishas. And again, physical or vibrational, but you also have to see whether it's an internal toxin or an external toxin. Internal toxin means that they are produced by our own bodies. And this is a topic that we go into at length in our detox course, the spring and autumn detox courses that we run. So you learn a lot about what to do about them and how to identify them. So if it's not internal, it's external. It means it's chemically produced, or it can be natural in the environment, and identifying it will help you also address it. So you decide if it's internal or external, physical or vibrational, and that already puts it in a certain category. Then you have to see what marga or pathway it's entering your body through. There's different margas for the different toxins. Once you know what kind of toxin it is, you'll be also able to identify what pathway it's taking, so that you can stop it in that pathway. You don't go knocking on different doors to address something that's on the other side, then you don't get results. And then the third very important thing when it comes to toxins is the adhistan, which is the locus, the location where a toxin will find, and it can be anywhere. It can be in any of the reproductive, urinary, respiratory, digestive, lymphatic system, depending on the body's propensity and own genetic makeup. And it will go and lodge itself there. That's why, there's 10 different people will expose themselves to the same toxicity or toxic environment, and each person will get a different symptom or a different response. And sometimes it can be disconcerting, especially if you're looking at it from a scientific point of view, because you expect a certain result from a certain, exposure or certain, steps. But that's the beauty of Ayurveda, is that it looks at things from an individual's perspective, and everybody will respond to the same thing differently. That's why Vaidya Mishra used to say 10 people will have a headache, but each one will have a different reason for having had that headache, and vice versa. So you can expose somebody to the same toxin, but it'll come out, it'll express itself in a different way based on where the adhistan is for that person. So in SVA, again, once we have identified the type of toxin, how it came in, where it has lodged itself, then there's specific steps. You do purva karma, which is you prepare the body to detox. This is such a crucial step that is omitted 99% of the time in detox protocols. You just end up drinking whatever detoxifying drink or process that you're doing without actually preparing the system. And you can actually cause real damage and harm by not preparing the system and not have full detox either. Then you do the pradhan karma, which is the main action of detox, which consists of the detox steps, what you're going to drink or eat or apply transdermally in order to isolate and then eliminate that toxin. And then finally, the paschat karma or post-detox pacification and rejuvenation is just as important as the first two steps, and it's an integral part of detox. Otherwise, you will, whenever you let go of toxins, you're creating an empty space, and that space needs to be filled up and rejuvenated. Otherwise, it can create further imbalances. So this is just to give you an idea that, yes, detox is important. Yes, knowing what your toxin is, but it's a process and there's a specific structure and there's a protocol about it. And familiarizing yourself and learning how to do it will only give you the best results. So it's important to study things. And that's the knowledge that Vaidya brought for us. This kind of knowledge is not available elsewhere. Even, there's wonderful Ayurvedic teachers, but the way Vaidya put it together and brought it for us through his experience and his knowledge is really very unique. That's why he used to have a lot of patients who came to him having undergone detox and panchakarma at clinics in India or even in the USA, who had actually more problems than before they went into the panchakarma or into the detox. So this kind of very structured, comprehensive approach is what is also applied to his knowledge of EMF toxicity. And that's, the main point of why I'm going over these things. Yes, EMF toxicity. Yes, there's, we can even measure those harmful effects now. And Henry is going to be talking about that in a few minutes for us. But having the full Ayurvedic protocol, and he did give us a very amazing Ayurvedic protocol for this as well. Having the full Ayurvedic protocol and following it step by step, even if it feels like it's not doing anything or you think it's not helping or whatever, there's actually a lot of Ayurvedic science, time-tested science behind it all. So you might have guessed EMF is a vibrational toxin because you can't smell it, you can't hear it, you can't taste it. Our senses are limited. It can be detected on the devices, which Henry's going to talk about again, but for our senses, it's not readily available. But it's definitely present, and we're going to talk about some symptoms also. And even though you might have seen in our promotional video when we were reviewing materials, when Vaidya was teaching his EMF courses 10, 13, 14 years ago, science was more understanding that there is such a thing as EMF toxicity, and it is harmful, and there should be done more to help us shield from it. But now it seems the past few years, there's different schools of thought that are coming out saying, no, it's not that bad. And if it is bad, it's probably your own sensitivity. And if it's your own sensitivity, it might also be just psychosomatic. So it's not really something physical that you need to worry about. So it might be the case, or it might not be the case. It's okay. We're not going to get stressed out about that because we are just going to study what Ayurveda is telling us. Ayurveda is time tested, and we have a protocol, and we have tested cases, and we know what to do, and we can also get results. And we are going to use science to the extent that it will help us also support the Ayurvedic findings, because we know that Ayurveda works. So we'll just stick with that until science figures things out. The scientists figure things out amongst themselves. So very important in this context, again, is the marga, the pathway through which EMF travels. And we have two types of pathways, primarily shrotas, which are the physical channels, versus the nadis. This is something that you learn in the EMF course that you can sign up for. And you understand what the nadis are and how you can help detox the nadis and support the nadis through prana. And Vaidya's teaching and understanding of prana is also another, it sets a milestone in the teaching of Ayurveda. It's not just prana is the breath, but it's not just the breath. You understand what it is that makes prana into the breath. And this is not just a theoretical concept, but it has very practical applications. And specifically when you're talking about EMF, because the most important thing that you can do to mitigate and shield yourself against EMF is to harness more prana and to bring in more prana into your body, into your life, into your diet. And we have specific protocols, and we also use the science of marma to help you do that. And again, this is something that you learn in the EMF course that is currently online. And we can talk more about that if you have questions. So in the big picture, how do you know if you have EMF toxicity? Scientists have uncovered a correlation between EMF overexposure and neurological effects. There are studies that show that these are some of the diseases that can, affect you, impact you if you have been exposed to too much EMF. On the cellular effect, you can get DNA damage, leukemia, different types of cancer, as well as well-being effects such as subliminal stress or toasted skin syndrome. EMF is real in the sense that it works on a very subtle cellular level. And there's a whole big science behind this. I'm sure Henry is better versed in this than I personally am. And this is like, you can find the impact of EMF on the cellular level that can cause cancer, degenerative diseases, or just, disrupted sleep, depression, anxiety, poor memory. So again, lots of studies about this, independent studies, and you can research it further. But be it as it is, it's out there. The important thing is to know what to do about it and how to shield yourself, especially with 5G nowadays being, such a big topic. There's even more scientists and physicians who do not have access to Ayurveda, who are trying to help, those of us who need help by figuring out ways to protect ourselves. And I don't know that we can stop the progress of science. After 5G, there's going to be 6G and 7G and 8G. But the important thing is to know what to do. Vaidya used to say, even I have to use these devices. There's no way I cannot use my cell phone and the computer. This is the world we live in. Even though it can cause all these things, oxidative damage, disruption of metabolism, it increases the permeability of the blood-brain barrier, which is like a very dangerous thing. You want to keep that barrier. You don't want toxins to cross that barrier because it can cause irreversible damage, melatonin reduction, so on and so forth. So, and that's what this course is about. So all of these things, yes, but there are answers and there are solutions. So this is what we do. These are the solutions that we do offer from the Ayurvedic perspective, or Shakadwipiya Ayurveda. We teach, or Vaidya taught, sutra to science. So once you understand what EMF is, in terms of the Ayurvedic science, then you can address it from that perspective as well. It's good to understand the science part of it, but when you get it from the Ayurvedic perspective, and there is an Ayurvedic perspective to it. There was EMF. EMF has always existed. The primary source of EMF is the sun. And there are people who would get EMF toxicity from lightning and other situations as well. And that is why we find remedies for it in Ayurveda. So that's what we'll study in the course on EMF. We understand the margas that EMF uses and what it does to your body, inside your body. And then we establish the relationship between prana and EMF, and then how prana can mitigate EMF. And to use prana, to harness prana, to mitigate EMF, we have many tools. And these are the tools actually that we introduce in the course. We teach you a vibrational cleansing massage, and it's very simple, but it's very powerful. We teach you specific mantras for how to do vibrational cleansing through sound on a deep cellular level. We teach you how to shield your body by harnessing the power of marma and the flow of prana through these marma points. And believe it or not, there's things you can eat that can actually make your body more prone to EMF toxicity versus give you a shield to protect yourself from EMF if you have to sit at a computer every day. So these recipes are also shared in our course, and you'll understand the concept behind them. And then tips for a balanced routine. Balancing rest and activity is a very important aspect of maintaining good prana in the body. And last but never least is specific herbal formulations that Vaidya put together: transdermal creams, nectar drops, sprays that can be used. They have divine herbs in them, but they have divine herbal synergy, means more than one herb is working with another one to help restore soma and support the flow of prana and detox also from EMF toxicity on many levels. So the Samadhi Marma Vigyan is a very important aspect of the teaching to help mitigate EMF in SV Ayurveda. And this is a course that stands on its own. It's a very beautiful, very powerful course, and we can talk more about it if you have questions later on. We do have also like a video a preview for the course if you are interested in it. So what else can you do? Of course, minimizing, following SWA protocols in terms of diet, routine, and the herbs. Identifying the source at your home or at your workplace and addressing it. You know, you can either plug things in instead of just using Wi-Fi, or distancing yourself also helps. There's also, you will learn in the EMF course that there are certain natural materials and fibers, such as wool or raw silk, that you can use to help protect yourself, shield yourself. But, and this brings me to today's, highlight. One of the better ways also is to measure it so that you can harness it. And in order to measure it, you need to know which device to use, and you need to know how to use it. And it's become a little bit confusing to navigate nowadays because there's so many devices and there's so much knowledge coming out as things are evolving, that you do need an expert to help you and to guide you. And that is why I am very delighted to have our dear friend, Henry Eckstein. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes, that's great. Anyway, it's fine.
Yeah, wonderful. Henry is a dear friend. His wife is actually even dearer to me. She's my best friend. And she has studied with Vaidya Mishra. She can say hi. Lisa, are you there?
Yeah, she's here. She's here.
Hi, this is Dr. Lisa. This Lisa Raskin. She has studied with Vaidya Mishra, and she currently also treats and sees patients in Florida using SV Ayurveda. And together with her partner and husband, they help improve people's lives and steer them clear from pain and imbalances. So Henry is certified in electrical engineering, and he's an electromagnetic radiation specialist and an environmental consultant and building biology new build consultant. So he's really super qualified to help guide us through this topic and to give us the tools that we need to learn how to navigate this and, you know, get on top of it. I'm really, really delighted to have you on board with us, Henry. Thank you for accepting to come on over. And I'm going to yield the floor to you. I'll just stop my screen share. And I'll let you share.
Hi, Melina. Hi, everybody. My wife has a.
I just got kicked out from the call in my office. Can you let me back in?
Of course.
Okay, I'm gonna see you later.
Yes.
So, hello, everybody. I am so very excited to be here today with you, especially on this very auspicious day on Vaidya Mishra's birthday, and also because I'm not just talking to you about, well, my field, but knowing that there's all this beautiful knowledge that Vaidya brought to us to help us mitigate the impact of EMFs on our bodies and help make us whole. And anyway, I'm going to share my screen now and begin. Let's see. There we go. So I won't go over my qualifications because you did it very well, Melina. My company is called Healthy Indoor Consultants. And what I do is find sources of harmful electromagnetic radiation and environmental pollutants in homes and workplaces and help people reduce or remove them. So, as Vaidya Mishra said, the impact of electromagnetic radiation, which is also known as EMR, is both a new problem as well as a very old one. And that's because it exists in nature and existed even before life began on Earth. And in certain circumstances was responsible for health issues long before electricity was discovered by scientists. And in one of the videos there, they show lightning. I stole this from that. And lightning, as you know, can not only cause health issues, but can kill you at the very least. And the reason is because we are all of life is electrical. We are electrical beings, basically. And there's no life without electricity. All our billions of cells are producing more than 100,000 biophysical and biochemical functions per second. And it's now believed that low frequency electromagnetic exposure disrupts the subtle electrical communication systems within our cells. And at higher frequencies, it can disrupt the cellular structural bonds. You okay? Individual levels of sensitivity to these fields varies, but human health problems fall into two categories. Actually, I saw three there on Melina's slides. The first is the neurological, behavioral abnormalities, learning disabilities, altered biological cycles and stress responses. And the second is the production and proliferation of cells. So our embryos healing and of course, on the negative side, the cancer. And the studies have shown that even very low levels of electromagnetic radiation exposures affect not only the health of our brains, but also the integrity of our genomes and our ability to produce healthy offspring. So why don't we hear more about the impact that electromagnetic radiation has on our well-being, or why, when we do hear about it, is it downplayed? You know, we're told that it's not really there, it's not a big deal. And to answer that question, I need to give you a few minute explanation of electromagnetic radiation and electromagnetic field. So this is a chart of the electromagnetic spectrum. So in quantum physics, all of creation, so all of matter is really just energy in the form of waves or particles, depending on how you look at it. And one of the four fundamental forces of nature is the electromagnetic field. The other three being gravity and the strong and weak forces that hold the fundamental particles together. Now, all waves have a number of characteristics. And for this, you can just think about standing at the beach and looking at the ocean, or looking at ripples in a pond. And if you're standing at the edge, say, of the Pacific Ocean, and you're watching the waves come in, you know that there's a frequency to it. So the waves, you count, let's say 6 waves come in 1 minute. So the frequency is 6 waves or cycles per minute. And there's a distance between the waves, between the wave tops. So if, for example, you counted 12 waves per minute, the distance between the wave tops would be cut in half, it would get smaller. So that's called the wavelength. And then there's also a height to the waves. And you know, there's a difference between like the waves just kind of trickling in over your toes versus if you have like a 10-foot wave coming in and it knocks you over and spins you around. So the wave height is really about how much energy there is in the wave. So we have the frequency, which is called hertz when you look at it per second. For example, our electricity in our homes in North America is 60 hertz, in Europe, 50 hertz, or cycles per second. When viewed at a grosser level, the range of the electromagnetic fields can be viewed as a spectrum. And as such, is referred to, as in this chart, as the electromagnetic spectrum. And that runs the gamut from the extremely low frequencies, including frequencies found in nature, such as the Earth gives off a natural vibration. People might have heard of the Schumann resonance, which I think is like 7.83, or had been 7.83 cycles per second. And it goes all the way up to gamma and cosmic rays and above. And light, visible light is in there, and including sunlight and artificial light and ultraviolet and infrared, and the electricity, as we said, running through your walls, and also Wi-Fi and microwaves, ultraviolet, etc. In fact, in this spectrum is both natural occurring radiation and man-made radiation. Now, as far as the man-made radiation, there are 4 basic types of the man-made radiation. And each of them can cause harm to our bodies if we're exposed to either high enough levels or long enough exposure. Each one requires a different type of meter, by the way, to measure. And the 4 types are AC electric fields, that's the alternating current of the electricity, And the number 2 is AC magnetic fields. Now at those higher frequencies, they become 1, but at the lower frequencies of electricity, they're very different. And you could have high electric fields and low magnetic fields, or vice versa. They can both be high. So they separate out at those lower frequencies. Then the third one is the radio frequency radiation, which it's technically these days is pulse modulated microwave radiation, which is emitted from Wi-Fi routers, wireless enabled devices, gaming consoles, cell towers, Bluetooth devices, smart gadgets, smart meters. And to measure the AC electric field, you would use basically a voltmeter that can measure the field in the air, basically. And it's measured in volts per meter. The AC magnetic field requires what's called a Gauss meter, and that measures in milligauss, or thousandths of a Gauss, or nanoteslas. Most of these fields, or 3 of these fields, are pretty easy to shield. The magnetic field is a little different in that it's almost impossible to shield from that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. The 4th type is microsurge electrical pollution. And that is also referred to as electromagnetic interference or harmonics, and it's commonly referred to as dirty electricity. And these are pulsed frequencies that get on the power lines and the power in your house. And they're other than the 50 or 60 hertz cycles that bring you the electricity to your home. They're generated by things like solar panel inverters, dimmer switches, fluorescent lighting, variable speed motors, new electronic systems with what are called switch mode power supplies, and other sources. And this is relatively new, or an increased form of man-made electromagnetic radiation. And to measure it requires, you can't do it with the meters that you measure the AC electric or magnetic, or even the radio frequency. There are special meters you can plug into outlets, or you can use an oscilloscope or a spectrum analyzer to measure it. The problem there is that different manufacturers use different units of measurement, and the bandwidth varies from manufacturer to manufacturer. So you may be wondering why I'm giving you this physics lesson. And to go back to this chart, the spectrum is basically broken into 2 major parts. The extremely high frequencies, so everything from ultraviolet light and up, which includes X-rays, cosmic rays, gamma rays, etc. Those are called ionizing radiation. And the reason it is because at that frequency, the electrons can actually be knocked out of their orbit on. As it turns out, it can also heat up the skin. And everything below that, including visible light, down to the very lowest frequency, doesn't heat up the skin, and it's referred to as non-ionizing radiation. So the ionizing radiation was discovered in 1896 by Henry Becquerel, and the effect of it wasn't discovered till 1945 in the Manhattan Project, where they injected this guy Albert Stevens with plutonium, and of course he died shortly after that. And the government and institutions that be decided this is not a very good thing, and so they made sure to let the public know and institute laws that protect people. That's why you wear the bibs at the dentist office when you're getting x-rayed, etc. And in their mind, it's, gee, it heats up the skin, it's bad, it'll hurt you. But everything below that can't hurt you because it's non-ionizing, so it's perfectly good. And that's why, as Melina said, a lot of people just say, well, there's nothing going on here. So that brings us to the last 30 years when more and more people started having symptoms, difficulty concentrating, like, I won't go through it. Melina went through that also, but people started exhibiting symptoms and studies started being done, and they showed that these symptoms were brought on by overexposure to various types of the man-made EMFs. And this is even before 5G and 4G LTE existed. Some people even began to become more sensitized than others, that they couldn't even be around devices with the most minimal levels of EMF. And this turned out to be called electrohypersensitivity. And the term was first proposed in 1999 by a guy named Dr. William Rea to identify the condition of patients reporting health effects while being exposed to the electromagnetic field. This term was then used in 1997 in a report provided by a European group of experts for the European Commission to clinically describe this unusual pathology, which may imply EMF exposure. So since then, there have been thousands of peer-reviewed studies done around the world proving the impact of exposure to various types of man-made EMFs. And this particular picture actually came from an instructor at Building Biology Institute, Stephen Collette, and it's copyrighted by Building Biology. And it's something that Dr. Ray came up with, which he called the rain barrel effect. And he equated our physiology to a rain barrel, and these different toxins, whether it's smoking or processed food or mold or whatever, electrosmog, gets into us, and our body gets rid of it, or the best it can. And as Melina said, we all have different physiologies. So some people have cracks in their barrel and stuff starts to come out. And those people who are stronger, they can take it more, basically. But at some point, the barrel fills up, and then we start to exhibit things like autoimmune allergies, multiple chemical sensitivities, etc., cancer. And so the task is to reduce the burden, lowering the exposures, and this is the beauty of Shakadwipiya Ayurveda, strengthening our system so that when these things do hit, we can get rid of them. So the reports I talked about, there are thousands of them, and you can find them, research them. They're all over the place. This is one very good place to go. It's called the Bioinitiative Report. And the website is bioinitiative.org. It's one word. And it was originally published in 2007, and then later in 2012. And then the latest update is actually this year, 2022. And the beauty of this is, if you were to print this report out, it would be about 2,000 pages long. But the beauty of it being online is you can navigate it, and you can access it in different ways by looking at types of maladies and show what country the report was done, the year of publication, abstracts, etc. And there's even a nice little section there of color charts, which are very nice. This is a sample of that. And there's a whole bunch of these charts, and at the bottom you can see they break it, use color to break it out by, let's say, cancer or cell proliferation, cardiac related things, brain tumors, stress proteins, etc. And then in the chart itself, they color code the line. And you can see the reference for when the report was published, who published it. In this case, this particular report is on RF, radio frequency radiation at low intensities. So cell towers, Wi-Fi, wireless laptops, etc. And on the left, it shows the power densities, in this case in microwatts per centimeter squared. And then it talks about what the study is about. So really great reference that you can, I guess, spend your life studying, but it goes on and on. So when people say, gee, there's nothing here, you can just counter it. If you take the time to print it out, you can drop a 2,000-page document on their desk. The doctor says, there's nothing going on here. Building biology actually has its own very conservative guidelines. And you can see this is the evaluation guidelines for sleeping areas. And the reason is we spend a third of our life at night in the bedroom. And this basically means that it's the most important place to be clear of the EMFs. This is where we manufacture melatonin. This is where the body rejuvenates itself for the stresses during the day. And the more toxicity that's coming in through EMFs during sleep, the less ability we have to deal with these stresses. So in this, you can see that these just show 3 of the 4 types of man-made EMFs. It has the RF, radio frequency, the M is the magnetic field, and the E is the electric field. And the reason there isn't anything for dirty electricity is building biology is still, they're almost there with their own guidelines, but right now the guidelines come from different manufacturers of instruments to measure the dirty electricity and to filter out the dirty electricity. And each manufacturer has different ways of measuring it, different bandwidths, etc. So in this simplified chart, it's a very elegant little chart. Building biology breaks these different levels of the power, depending on the different type of electromagnetic radiation, into 4 categories. I don't know if you can see the right, if you've got the picture of me or people on the right, it may be covering up the 4th area, but they break it into no concern, slight concern, severe concern, and then extreme concern. And it's not cut and dry, meaning it's a continuum. So if you measure RF frequency of 10 and it's in the slight, or 11, it goes into severe, they're pretty much the same thing. It just, you more want to look at how far into these different areas they are. So no concern means that someone with electro hypersensitivity, it's probably fine for them. Most people in that area, it's like having nothing there, although there are some people that are so hypersensitive that they can't even live in their own house. They have to live in a tent outside or in their car. And I have talked to people like that, unfortunately. The slight means for most people who aren't hypersensitive, you're fine there. It's nothing you really need to do. Once it gets to severe, it means you should start looking at how to either eliminate the source of the toxins or shield from it. And when it gets into the red, it's extreme. You want to deal with that right away. No one should be dealing with this, even if you don't feel anything. It's serious because these things are doing stuff to our cells, whether we feel it or not, to our cells, to the blood-brain barrier, to our nerves, and God knows the subtle levels that we deal with in Shakadwipiya Ayurveda. Can't even imagine because I don't even know how to measure. These are based on gross measurements. In the RF, we measure usually in microwatts per meter squared, and we look at the peaks. In the magnetic fields, we measure in milligauss or nanoteslas, and then in the electric fields, we look at it in volts per meter, and there are two ways of measuring there. You can either ground the meter or what's called potential free, where the meter is just free and the levels that you're looking at there are different depending on which. So this next chart is very, very noisy, and you may not be able to read it, but that little red arrow on the left is pointing to building biology guidelines. And when you look to the right, it's basically saying that, and this has to do with RF exposure, just for example, in a particular frequency range, 1800 or 1.8 gigahertz. And building biology says, hey, you're okay if it's under 0.1 microwatts per meter squared. Actually, in the chart, it's 0.3. It says, you want to get it down that low as a precautionary measure. And then when you go to the top of the chart, you're looking at what most of the Western Europe and USA and Canada is saying. And they're saying, oh no, you can experience this stuff 100 million times stronger, and it's fine. We don't care because it's not thermal. It's not heating your skin. It's not ionizing. So, and the rest of the chart is showing that all these different countries and even organizations like the Bioinitiative Report have different levels and ways of looking at these things. So, as I said, the bedroom is the most important place that we focus on in building biology in terms of eliminating sources of man-made EMFs. And so here's the top 10 things that I put together and I got from building biology and other sources. First is remove all the electrical devices. And this is how to avoid. This is not about shielding here. It's removing the sources. So remove as many electrical devices from the bedroom as possible. And this includes radios, TVs, answering machine, VCRs, lamps, computers. And if you have to have one of these things in the bedroom, keep them at least 6 feet away from your body, and unplug all the devices before you go to sleep. And the TV can be very dangerous even when unplugged. It's best to not have it in there. And if it is in there, unplug it. Some of the newer TVs, even if you turn them off, they're still emitting very high levels of radio frequencies, RF, basically Wi-Fi. Even if your router's turned off, they're still blasting away. So you want to turn that off. In fact, turn off the Wi-Fi at night, not just the router, but turn off all your Wi-Fi enabled devices, such as your computers and your TVs, because they'll, and they have different antennas, so they have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and cellular. Make sure they're all off, or just unplug them, turn the devices off. And ideally, it's best actually to wire up your home with internet cable. The speed will be much faster than the Wi-Fi, and now you're not getting anywhere near the kind of toxins that you are from Wi-Fi. So number 3 is turn your cell phone off. And when you charge your cell phone, don't have it in your bedroom. Put it somewhere where you don't spend a lot of time, not next to the couch you sit in 3 hours a day or whatever. And again, with the TV, if you do have the TV, keep it at least 9 feet away from the bed. And you can cut electricity to the bedroom. So you could very well be getting high levels of AC electric fields or AC magnetic fields or dirty electricity from the wires in your walls or in your floors. And what you can do is get demand switch or cutoff switches that automatically cut the flow of electricity to the bedroom when there's no demand for it. And that's like when you're going to sleep. And that way you eliminate electric stress to your body while you're sleeping. The cheapest way to do this, of course, is to go to your electric panel and shut off the circuit breakers to your bedroom and rooms where the wires are running through the wall, maybe on the other side of you. But then you can get like a remote cutoff switch. They're not very expensive, and a few $100s. And you get like a little device, a little keychain type device, like your car, your little device that unlocks your car, and you can just push it. It shuts off up to 4 different circuit breakers that are affecting your bedroom. And, if you need to get up in at night, you maybe have a little flashlight, or you can just turn it back on with the push of a button. And you do need to cut off the electricity to anything that's in the floor, if possible, in the walls, which may not just be the bedroom circuits. And if you do need, let's say you have a CPAP machine or something, if you do need something, you can always run a shielded and grounded extension cord from another room in there to power. Let's say you live in an extremely hot and humid climate, you need a fan going, but it turns your fan off. This way you can run a floor fan or something and still turn off all the other electricity to your room. Avoid electric blankets. They're very dangerous. Person's normal voltage is less than like a millivolt or a thousandth of a volt, and the electric blanket can surround you with something like 76,000 volts, millivolts, which is like 76 volts. And it's far better to use some natural material like a cotton blanket or comforter or flannel sheets, etc. Then AC magnetic fields. You don't want to have your head in the bed like we're on the other side. There's a refrigerator. Motors do create magnetic field. So computer furnaces, aquariums, TV, or anything on the other side of the wall that can create either high electric or magnetic fields. And also raise your bed at least 16 inches from the floor to avoid magnetic fields that might be coming from the floor. Of course, if you use a cutoff switch, then you don't necessarily have to worry about those things. The worst thing is they have these baby monitors, and EMF is far worse toxin for babies and young children. Their bodies and their cells are not nearly as developed as adults, and so they're very susceptible to EMF, and particularly the Wi-Fi devices. I mean, they're putting Wi-Fi in baby diapers now and in pacifiers. It's like crazy. I don't even think you can find a baby monitor hardly these days that is not Wi-Fi enabled. But no matter, find another way to look after your child than subjecting them to Wi-Fi. And then another thing is avoiding ionization type smoke detectors. So if you've ever been in a hotel and you haven't been able to sleep there, very most of the time hotels use these ionizing smoke detectors that have radioactive material in them, and their damaging effect on us can extend up to 50 feet. There was a Dr. John Nashott who did studies that showed that the smoke detectors, those type of smoke detectors, can cause impotence, and that flowers will wilt if they're put in front of them. And you can get smoke detectors without the radioactive material at pretty much any big box store. They're very inexpensive. And lastly, get rid of those cordless phones. They're called DECT phones. The base stations for these are putting out 2.4 gigahertz, very high frequency radiation, 24/7. Even if you turn the remote, your little phone off or put it in the cradle there, those little cradles that hold it are still blasting out Wi-Fi. And so it's best, if you have home phone, replace them with inexpensive corded telephones. You can get them at Amazon, and yes, you have to have a cord to the handset, but you can get these coiled cords as long as 25 feet, so you can walk around, but they're pretty deadly. So that being said, there's also things you can do these are not necessarily EMF related, but you want to make the bedroom as dark as possible, because it turns out the darker it is, the more melatonin we make at night. And that melatonin really helps heal the stresses of the day. If you can, open a window at night, if it isn't too cold or too warm out, because the HVAC systems deplete the negative ions in the air, and the air starts to get very just very bad. It depletes the negative ions. So if you have even the window open, even a little, get some circulation in there. Don't sleep over a garage. They're very toxic, and they're not sealed very well. And also the cars in them have metal, and you can get geopathic magnetic fields from that. Avoid water beds. They're very dangerous. It's like sleeping under high tension lines. The water is stagnant, and it's depleting to our system, and it also holds a electromagnetic charge that derives from the heating elements. Avoid metal spring mattresses, metal bed frames, and all the synthetic carpet. In fact, if you have a rug, a natural rug, that's fine, but building biology is very not very sympathetic to carpets in general, just because they capture so much dust and all kinds of things that can affect your health. Anything with the word poly in it, so any plastic materials, poly this, poly that, get it out of the bedroom. This could be window shades or anything made with plastic, synthetic bedding, electronics, even a lot of children's toys, and also the synthetic pillows. So you want your pillows, you want to get it stuffed with cotton, not synthetic materials. And same with synthetic wall. I hope I didn't freeze. I think I might have. Oh no, I didn't. Good. Okay. So the other thing I want to talk about is cell phones. And when I go to people's homes, everybody's concerned with, oh, there's a cell tower there, or I've got my smart meter and I'm all worried about this. I inevitably find I use instruments that are very sensitive and have directional antennas. And the worst thing I always find in the home is actually people's cell phones. And then second is their use of Wi-Fi. Far more toxic than any of the other things that are coming from the outside. So I always 10 tips on protection from cell phones is just minimize your use of it, particularly in confined spaces. You can use air tube headsets because regular headphones can produce high levels of magnetic fields. They basically have coils in the earpieces, and you can use keep the cell phone away from you. Do not put it anywhere next to your ear, and don't carry it in your pockets or your bras. You can get covers for your cell phone, place like Defender Shield or Safe Sleeve. There's a lot of companies that make these customized for different phone styles, and they don't completely block the radio frequencies, but they do minimize it so that you can, once you dial, you just close the cover, and then they don't, you still want to keep it away from you, but the radiation isn't as strong that way. Limit Bluetooth headsets, because even though they're 1/10 as intense as the EMR from cell phone antennas, you're being exposed to them because you're wearing them in your ear all the time. And another tip is the power bars you have on your phone. The fewer bars you have means you're having a stronger signal, because it's trying to find a very weak signal from a cell tower. And so you don't go well with the bar is very low, so it must be fine. It's just the opposite. Wherever possible, use a cable or a landline. So at home, at least, if you could get landline phones and just turn your cell phone off, or if you have, for example, an Apple phone and an Apple computer, and let's say the Apple computer is connected through internet cables as opposed to through Wi-Fi, you can set the phone up so it rings on your computer, and you can text and get phone calls there. The other thing is you can get these little adapters, very inexpensive, on Amazon that plug into your phones. There's one for Android, one for Apple. Well, a number of companies make them, and they plug right into your internet switches, and you can use your cell phones and your tablets. Most applications, the only thing you can't do is make phone calls, so you can't use the cellular, but you can use all the applications that use Wi-Fi. So for example, on your tablets, you can download and watch movies, and then you're not getting the EMFs from it. And then lastly, if you say no, don't get your 5G phone. If you do, make sure to turn the 5G off. The 5G uses a different technology. In one way, 4G LTE is worse because it broadcasts a wider swath. But the 5G uses phased array antennas, which actually target phones that have 5G turned on and send the signals in a very narrow swath directly to them. So if you do have a 5G phone and turn it off, you won't, and you don't get in the middle between someone with a 5G phone and the tower, you're better off. So what I recommend is, if people want to find out what's going on in their home, is hire a building biologist. And this is a link to the buildingbiologyinstitute.org is their website. And they have electromagnetic radiation specialists throughout North America, particularly in the United States and Canada, but there are some in Central and South America. And I think there's one in Europe. There's also an organization in Europe that's also building biology. They have a different website. I think it's .com. And that's where building biology really got started in Germany. And if you go to this link, or just go to buildingbiologyinstitute.org and you click at the top, find an expert, you can drill down to the list of the electromagnetic radiation specialists listed by state and city, etc., for Canada and the Americas. And they can come out to your house and they know how to measure. However, if you can't get anybody to travel to you, or you don't have, you have to do it yourself for some reason, you can get your own meters. But like I said, you need different meters to measure the different kind of EMFs. And they're all very critical that you know what's there, because each type of EMF has different impact on and on our health, different kinds of things or damage that it does. If you go to my site, Healthy Indoor Consultants, on the main page, you scroll down a little, it shows a different type of pollutants, and you can click on them and see what kind of health impact they have. Some of the meters I recommend for RF, there's a brand called Safe and Sound. Their classic one is not as expensive. It shows little colored lights. So like that building biology, those green, yellow, orange, and red lights. And that's how it tells you how safe you are. It doesn't actually show numbers. The Safe and Sound Pro 2 is a little more expensive, but both of these are very accurate. They measure up to 8 gigahertz, which is quite high. And in case of the Safe and Sound Pro 2, you can also hear the sound, and by the sound of the EMF, you can tell if something is from a cell phone or a cell tower or from your smart meter. They all make different kind of sounds. For the EMF, for the AC magnetic, the Gauss meter, and AC electric fields, there's a gigahertz solution model, ME3830B. It lists, I think, for 230 or something. And by the way, for those of you who have tri-field meters, a lot of people have them, which measures the RF and the AC and magnetic and electric fields. You should know that the Gauss meter on those are pretty good, but the AC electric and the RF are a little less than good, meaning you'll get a false sense of security if you're looking at the RF radiation using the tri-field. However, they're really fine for measuring magnetic fields. They're pretty accurate. For dirty electricity, there are a number of different companies that make these plug-in meters. They just plug into an outlet, and they show you, most of them show you the before you plug in one of the filters made by that manufacturer, and then it'll show you how much it's been reduced. The one I recommend, or from my experience, is the best, is from a company called Static Shield, and it's their EMI line monitor. It's a little more money, not that much more than the others. In all of these, I can get you discount codes, so either 5% off or 10% off. And sometimes these companies have sales. So the you can get from Safe Living Technologies or from Green Wave, dirty electricity meters from Static Shield, Green Wave. There's a number of different companies. I won't go into it here, but you can contact me. In fact, if you want, have questions and you want to, you can go to my website, healthyindoorconsultants.com, and you can schedule a free discovery phone call. Just when you do that, fill it out, put in your full name, your preferred way to contact me, whether you want to get called or emailed, your location, so I know what time zone you're in case we do phone call, and best days and times for me to contact you, and a brief description of your concerns. And we could have a short discovery call where I can find out more about your specific situation. And then if you want to proceed with additional help, I can do Zoom or phone calls, which I charge in 15-minute increments. Or if you go on the building biology website, find a consultant nearby you. So for example, in Southern California, there's a lot of some of the best teachers of building biology, including Aura Miller, who is, I guess, been a friend of Vaidya, Mishra, and Melina. And he's just got a brilliant website. And that's it. Any questions at this point?
Henry, what a fabulous presentation. This was just so good. There's so much knowledge, and you're just like a well of deep knowledge. I mean, it's just absolutely fascinating. It's fabulous. I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions, but also lots of interest to delve deeper into this with you, because it's complicated. It's not simple.
It really is. I thought, gee, I have this background in telecommunications and in electrical engineering, and this should be a piece of cake. It just gets more and more complicated every day. It's just I have a friend who's a really good physicist, and he said that we only know like 5% what there is to know about electricity.
Wow.
So it's I'm learning things every day.
Incredible. And I think I'll just say this, and then Donalda will lead us into the Q&A. But when Vaidya Mishra first noticed this in the pulse of people when he was doing Ayurvedic consultations, it was 1991. We didn't even have any of the devices we have right now and that we're using. What
Right.
he was detecting was just the regular electricity to light up our homes, and what else, maybe give heat, some other devices. And even then he saw that there was interference in the pulse. So I mean, it's intense. It's like, this is such an important topic, and it's just it's reassuring to have you share all this with us. It feels like there's so much we can do about it. So I'll let everybody, come on board, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions. So you can
thank you also, Melina, because and thank you, Vaidya Mishra, because I feel so blessed to be married to Lisa and have all this knowledge, most of which I don't understand. I don't have. She has such a depth of knowledge, but that there are so many things that can be done to help strengthen our physiology. And it's, all I can do is say, well, here are some of the things, and let's get rid of them. Let's eliminate the source of these things. But at the end of the day, you can't escape it these days. And so really what Shakadwipiya Ayurveda gives us is just absolutely incredible and so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for that reminder, Henry. There's, the work you are doing is so essential. And then with Vaidya's knowledge, I think we have a full package. So it's really, we are very fortunate. That's all I can say. Okay, maybe you want to stop sharing your screen, Henry, so we can all just come on here, and then we'll spotlight. There we go. Wonderful.
Yes.
Yes.
So there are no questions in the chat right now. So if anyone is uncomfortable speaking, then just write your question in the chat and I can read it to Henry or Dr. Molina. But while we're waiting for...
Would you excuse me for just 30 seconds? I'll be
Sure.
right back.
Yes.
Yes.
And so while Henry's not here, Dr. Molina, you know, Henry's presentation is excellent if we're in our own house and we can, you know, turn off our electricity. But a lot of times we live in apartment buildings, they're not our own places. We go to work and we just have to rely on our employer. And, you know, so what can we do in that particular case?
Yeah, from
Just wanted to know if Henry has solutions for that.
Lisa, is that you?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So I'll share some things and then he should also respond to the question.
I think he went to the restroom.
Yes. Okay, so when you have to go to work, for example, you cannot control what's around you. One of the things you can do is wear natural fibers. Henry touched on this in terms of carpets and other things in your environment, but also dressing up, clothing yourself in natural fibers. Yes, Lisa. This is also raw silk. So there's, luckily you can get mixtures of raw silk and even wool. Both of these fibers are really good. And then this is something we have to talk about at length in the course because it's just an in-depth material, but really harnessing prana, you're going to learn what prana is. It's the breath of life, but that's like not even scratching the surface of what prana means. The way Vaidya teaches prana is so profound, and it gives you access to this really powerful cosmic energy that you didn't even suspect you could harness and bring into your own. It's already coming into our bodies. That's why we're alive. But there's ways of augmenting that and of using that power, and it acts as a shield. So that's another thing. There's the Samadhi Marma. You can do that as many times a day as you want, and you will experience a difference doing Samadhi Marma in terms of your body's energetic strength. And it also pacifies your mind, and it makes your heart happy, which also gives you more strength to shield yourself from EMF, because EMF is a burning energy. It's an Agneya energy according to Ayurveda, and you want to counteract it with somagenic energy, which is life-giving, life-supporting. Another thing that, again, food plays a major role also, because it supports more soma. Pranic food, fresh food, also will support your physiology to ward off and shield yourself. And then there might be some other things that will come to my mind, but maybe we can let Henry also respond to this question. If you want to repeat it for him, Donalda.
So I don't remember what the question is. Sorry, not a really great question.
Well, there's one question. There's one question here about cooking with induction stoves.
Yes.
Like stovetops. And that's interesting because it's like pick your poison. If you cook with gas, then generally most of the stoves don't completely combust the gas, and then you get poisons that come out, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. And building biology actually recommends that you use electric stoves versus gas fed stoves, even though the gas actually, if you're a chef, it's like chefs like it a whole lot better than the electric stoves. But the amount of EMFs coming from the electric stovetops are not so bad. What is bad is that all these modern appliances, this Internet of Things, they're putting Wi-Fi in everything. And, you know, if you stand by your dishwasher or you stand by your brand new oven, you're just getting radiated. And you could find out if you go to buy one of these things, if they have Wi-Fi in them, and ask how you can turn it off. Sometimes you have to have someone go in there, and it's a simple disconnect the Wi-Fi from it. But it's basically so that it can share the information with the smart meters, and the electric company knows that you're using so much electricity from your stove or whatever.
Yeah.
But the
I remember
actual
the question from the last person, if you
Yeah.
want. Someone asked, it's great when you're at home, but many people don't spend their time at home. How do they protect themselves? And that was the
EMF
question.
at work or external environments, what can they do?
Well, that is true. There's a lot of things you can do at home, and very little things you can do other than maybe make sure the wires going to your computer, or talking to your employer and asking them if they can wire you up instead of using Wi-Fi. But I think there is clothing you can get that shields you, different kind of shirts and whatever, hats. And the problem with that is if the Wi-Fi or the RF gets inside them, then that can it can bounce around, because it's not completely like a Faraday cage. So you don't really know what's going on. I think the best thing is to is Shakadwipiya Ayurveda, is to get your nervous system and your body and your cells strong enough so that you can deal with these stresses. It's basically stresses. What do you think, Melina?
Absolutely, Henry. That's perfect answer. And I was just talking about how Vaidya used to recommend raw silk, because raw silk is naturally, it's a poor conductor, so it will protect. Also wool, so any shawl, and you can also wrap, like a silk turban or ribbon around your head. But then the key thing with Ayurveda is, you said it's just strengthening your own system, so that the barrel, I love that image of the barrel, I thought that was so pertinent, doesn't overflow as easily. Yes, we're all like genetically predisposed, we come, built a certain way, but there's things you can do to strengthen or to weaken that barrel. So that's where Ayurveda comes in, with the diet and the routine and the herbs and any other thing. The prana is the most important thing, harnessing it. So that's what you will learn. And that's only like with Ayurveda, with Vaidya Mishra's Ayurvedic teachings. No other school of Ayurveda teaches how to harness prana. So it's a really, we're very fortunate for that. What about, I wanted to ask you though, aluminum foil is also said to have shielding ability. I am personally weary of anything aluminum, but
Yeah.
does it have any, is it protective in any way?
Yeah, any kind of metal will reflect radiation, like RF. There are materials you can get that are pretty healthy, that are basically like, for example, silk with interwoven silver or gold, very fine gold strands or silver strands through them that you can see through, but they act like a Faraday shield. So, for example, there are different ways to shield your bedroom. Like, for example, there's paint that you can use that has little metal in them, but it's very complicated to use that, and very costly and messy. But you could get, for example, a bed canopy that's also portable in case you move, that just completely surrounds the bed, and the material breathes, and it completely shields you like 99.99% from the radio frequencies. They also come with these little ground silk things, mats, whatever you want to call it. And I'd be careful of ground mats that people put on their bed, only because the system ground in our house, the ground that is in the outlets, they're not always clean. So they could have dirty electricity, all kinds of stuff running through them, even stuff from the neighborhood. And so you could be putting more electricity into your body with some of these ground mats. I don't know. It's a lot of this, by the way, is if you are semi-sensitive, is how do you feel? Not everybody can tell the difference, but many people can tell this feels better. And you want to not neglect paying attention to how you actually feel, as opposed to someone telling you this is better or not better.
Right, right.
Thank you. So we were asking the question about stove tops. And so the question was, is the induction stove top, does it emit EMFs? And I think that is classified as electric stove, right? Is that true? Okay, so that's better than gas?
Well, it's, again, it's according to building biology. They recommend that, but it's like I said, it's pick your poison. There may be, you can't tell until you actually measure these things. But what I've seen is the worst part of electric stoves are, and any of the newer appliances, is they're putting Wi-Fi into everything. It's the Internet of Things. They want to know everything about you. And they want you to be able to control everything with these like Next appliances. What you really want to do is not get things with Wi-Fi in them, or turn the Wi-Fi off, or figure out how to turn the Wi-Fi off if you even can. So I'd be more concerned with that than there's sure to be an electric field from it. Also, it's like you said, Melina, distance is your friend. So a lot of these fields and the radiation dissipates very quickly. So magnetic fields from what's called point sources, and point sources are electric motors or your charger or the stovetop, they dissipate with the cube of the distance. So for every foot you move away, it's like 3 times dissipated. You don't have to go very far for it to be negligible. There are other kind of causes of magnetic field, the worst being the wiring faults in your home. And that's technical, I don't want to get into it, but I was told 60% of the homes in California have wiring errors in them due to handymen doing the work or whatever it is and making mistakes. And it looks like everything's working, but when the magnetic fields are caused by that, they dissipate very slowly, like 1/R. They can go out clear across the room. So.
Wow. Why is it that they're putting in the pacifiers? Why are they putting, you said at one point that
they want to know if the baby has a pacifier in the mouth. They want to know if the baby needs a diaper change. They want to know if the milk is warm enough that they're giving their baby, or if it's gotten cold. I mean, they're just poisoning, doing so much damage to the children. And it's really sad, but people just don't know. They just want to put Wi-Fi in everything. That's the thing to do.
Unbelievable.
Someone asked with the gas stove, and that you do want to have a fan. You want to make sure it covers beyond the edges of the stove. and that ideally the fan is not right. So just because of the noise can drive you crazy. If it's more in higher up, like in your roof, and you want to make sure it vents to the outside, not into your attic, for example. And just to get rid of the smells of cooked food, even an electric stove, you probably want it, but certainly for the gas stoves. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Melina.
That's good. So are there any instructions on how to measure for a low EMF car?
That's a great question, because and there's some people who I studied with who just went into just studying. They're just obsessed with studying cars and EMFs, and particularly magnetic fields caused by the alternators or the motors or whatever it is. And I am by no means an expert in the cars. And yes, you can take meters, and this is what they do. They take for example, a Gauss meter, and they measure the magnetic fields when they're stepping on the accelerator, or if they have someone in the car with them, they could take the measurements while you're driving. And from what I've heard, even it doesn't have to be an electric car. I mean, the electric cars, you do have batteries, and that, you could be sitting over the batteries and over electric fields, but also just the gas models, because you have things like alternators, and you don't know how they're doing their grounding or where the wires are going. These days, even the cars are completely filled with high tech, and so you've got your Bluetooth in your sound system there, and your location finders. So there's a lot of EMFs just in general these days in newer cars. If you get a car from the 1950s, it probably wouldn't be so bad. I don't know any other way than to actually take a meter. And I do know the names of some people in building biology who that's all they do is, we have monthly meetings, actually conducted by Orem Miller that I mentioned before. And occasionally they've had some of these guys on, and they just talked about this stuff, but I apologize, I just don't know
Thank you for that.
specifics.
It's good it is good to know where to find somebody if you don't know the particulars.
Where are you located? Where are you located?
The person who asked this question is Fred Johnson III. Do you want to reply to that, Fred?
Fred, where is he? I don't see.
Oh, I see. You read someone else's question.
Yeah.
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 So there's another question. If I use
Scottsdale, Arizona. I see it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there might be a building biologist there in Arizona, but I'm not sure. So
Excellent. So there's a question. I have Wi-Fi in my apartment building, and if I use an Ethernet cable on my computer, is it doing any benefit to me?
It depends where the building is actually putting out the Wi-Fi somewhere in ceilings. Is it in your apartment or is it somewhere else? In other words, where is the source of
I think
someone who wrote a question?
Yeah, I think she's just trying to unmute.
Oh, okay.
Soban. There she is.
Yeah, this is Siobhan. And this is just a home, but there's Ethernet coming into the home. I mean, there is Wi-Fi in the home. It's everywhere. And so there's a router and there's a huge battery here and all these things here. But if I use an Ethernet cable on my computer, in my space in the home, is it of any benefit? Because I know that the radiations are even, I can even feel them outside of the home. Like when I walk far away from the home, I can feel so much relief.
Yeah, it's everywhere. I mean, it's ubiquitous. And I think the answer is yes, it'll help, because remember, distance is our friend. So let's say the Wi-Fi repeater or whatever it is in the hall, but things do, these radiation does get blocked. In fact, the higher the frequency, such as 5G, the easier it is to block it. So 5G won't go very far. It'll go maybe 200 feet, and it'll even get blocked by rain, or a tree or something, or bushes. So if it's in your hall, it's probably not great to have it there, but if you turn it off in your home and you're sitting in front of your computer and there's no Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or anything coming out of your computer, you've just spared yourself very, very high intensity power density coming from your computer, because it's going through internet cables. And when we talk about internet cables, I do recommend getting what is Cat 7, because it's both shielded, the wires themselves do not radiate, and it's also, there's a way to ground it. I won't get into it here. That's a whole other discussion, but you have shielded and grounded cables. Your computer will run faster, and you've turned off another source of EMFs, basically.
But if I do not turn off the Wi-Fi, so that, so the other people in the home who want to use Wi-Fi can use it, it really doesn't do me any good to be on an Ethernet cable.
Yes, it does, because you're sitting in front of your computer, and your computer, it's not just the router that's putting out the Wi-Fi, your computer's putting it out, your TV's putting it out. And so if you hook up your TV with an internet cable, now you can turn the Wi-Fi off, assuming it's not like a late model Samsung, which unfortunately you can't. Like in Sony, you can still turn off the Wi-Fi. Now you've got like one less source of Wi-Fi, and remember, distance is your friend. So if you're sitting right in front of a device and you're connecting to that device with Wi-Fi, that thing's blasting you. Just remember, it's a two-way conversation between your computer and the Wi-Fi router. So your computer is putting out just as strong a signal as the router, but you're sitting right in front of it. So if you wire it up, now you've eliminated that source that's close, and you're just have that source that's further away, which is not going to be as strong.
Thank you. That really helps. I've been wondering about that. We're on a farm, and so when they brought the Wi-Fi in, they ran a long cable up the lane to the house. Now, I wanted to ask you, ever since then, when I drive in my car, the radio gets all staticky. I can't hear anything. Is that from that cable that's in the ground?
It could be, yeah, it could be, because it's electromagnetic interference.
Wow.
Think of it as how dirty electricity gets onto your wires. It's through inductance. So your antenna's picking that up. I mean, it could be. I don't know exactly.
So I just noticed.
One other thing, if I can throw out, is that I didn't talk much about shielding, but RF, radio frequencies, microwave frequencies, you can shield them. You can buy material that you hang on your wall, or put it behind a picture, or whatever it is, that can block radiation signals. It's best to do that if you have a meter that you can see what's done, because maybe there's areas that are still getting blasted. And also, if the signals are coming from all different directions and you have shielding material all around you, it could be bouncing back and forth and making it worse. But so it's good not just to do something and hope for the best, but to have some way of testing it, either a professional, or at least if you have your own meter, you can see, get a sense of what's going on. And these less expensive meters, you may not know where stuff is coming from, but you get a sense of the the field around where you're measuring.
Okay. Do you know of any studies that have measured the effect of these radiations on birds? Because like there's fewer and fewer birds around.
Oh my God. Yeah. I just read one yesterday. Lisa, my wife, forwarded it to me. It was from this guy who's real. He's such an advocate. Different people take this thing more seriously. And his name is Arthur Furstenberg. And he, his take on it is get rid of all cell phones, get rid of all the technology. And that, I don't think that's going to happen. But he won't even talk to you if you're talking on a cell phone. So that's how sensitive he is. But he just had an article on how the entire species of birds were destroyed on these very remote islands because they had Wi-Fi towers that were focused on the areas where the birds migrated to. And very, very quickly, all these birds just died. It was very, very sad.
That's just tragic. That's just tragic.
Yeah. So I think a lot of I was a mentor to a student in Colorado. Before we moved to Florida, we were living in Boulder, and she did a project for school. And what she did is took one of these safe and sound meters that her dad had, and she just took the Wi-Fi router, had two plants, put one next to the Wi-Fi router, one, the other side of the room, and the one next to the Wi-Fi router. I mean, within a week, it just wilted and died. So it's not just birds, it's also the insects. Lisa mentioned to me, I used to see all kinds of insects splatter on the windshield of our car when we drove fast. I don't see anymore.
No.
So I don't know. There's a lot of things not great happening to our environment, I do believe, is from EMFs, unfortunately.
Thank you so much, Henry, for your information. It's just amazing. Unfortunately,
Another one more question from Swati on the protection stickers for cell
oh
phone.
yes, okay.
Because it's very it's a very common thing. Do these EMF protection stickers work for cell phones? They don't seem to work for me, but have worked for a friend. Could you comment?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things out there that are called harmonizing devices, and they say, well, if you get this pendant, it'll harmonize out the EMFs. And the building biology take on it is, if you feel it's doing good, fine. But they're all about measuring the EMFs. So these things, they may be subtly doing something where they're helping your body somehow harmonize with this. I don't know, but you generally can't measure any difference. With the cell phone, so this is from a company called Safe Sleeve. This I can actually measure. I can measure the EMFs coming from my phone when it's like this. Put the cover on, and I can see a significant drop in the power density. Not necessarily to completely safe levels, but you can measure that. But the sticker that you put on the back of the phone, you're not going to be able to measure that. However, it doesn't mean it's not doing any good. So for the people who do feel something, a difference, by all means,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
And I would beware of people selling these harmonizing things that they sell them for thousands of dollars. They're what do you call them? Schemes. They're pyramid schemes,
Yeah.
and they're not actually shielding. They're saying, oh, we've proven they can harmonize this and it only costs $6,000. I'd spend your money elsewhere.
Yeah.
Hire a building biologist and shield. But other than that, an inexpensive pendant or a little sticker on your phone, fine.
Thank you so much for delineating to us, what you can get from your, what you can measure from your meters, and, what we still have to use our intuition and our own abilities to determine what works for us. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your presentation, and everyone here did too.
Well, I was just very, very excited and very happy to have done this, and very honored also. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Molina, I have one question for you before we go. And I think that many people tonight and today are wondering, so, what am I going to get from this EMF course? It sounds really intriguing. And why should I take this EMF course? You could just tell us that in a few sentences.
So I already spoke about some of the things that Vaidya covers and introduces us to, that really will be knowledge that will not only apply to EMF, but that you will carry with you and use in so many aspects of your daily life for the rest of your life. But let me give a very specific example. There was one patient, one client who came to see Vaidya maybe 10 years ago. And he was an Indian gentleman from Northern California who used to work for a very big high-tech company. And he had all these symptoms. He had been to several doctors and nobody could diagnose him. Nobody could understand what was going on. And at the very best, they would say that nothing was wrong with him, that it was just, again, psychosomatic, or, he was, sometimes they tell you you're imagining things or feeling things, but your blood work doesn't show you anything, so on and so forth. So Vaidya took his pulse and he started asking him questions. And it turned out that he was working in a room with close to, I don't know, I don't want to exaggerate, but probably like about a couple hundred computers or devices like that. So basically he was getting overexposed to EMF on a daily basis for years. And he had all these symptoms like tingling, fatigue, his digestion was impaired, his skin also felt hot, like heat in the body that was unexplained. His sleep was also impaired. And he didn't know what to do because none of these things were adding up to any diagnosable medical condition where they would, prescribe medicine or whatever. And so Vaidya gave him all the protocols that we are sharing, that we share in this EMF course, whether it's the vibrational massage, it's the grounding techniques, the hugging the tree, increasing more soma in your life, bringing in more prana, and then, the diet, the SVA diet. So all of those things add up and together they make a full package. And I'll tell you that also that he actually got better and he came back to see Vaidya and he was 100%. He was so happy. He couldn't believe. He was very actually, when Vaidya diagnosed him, he was doubtful, but he had no other choice left because he had tried every possible venue and nothing was working. So he just had to give it a try, and he did. And he was quote unquote cured. And he was, and like you mentioned, that first question you asked, he had to be in that environment because that was his work. That's where he went to make a living. So it's not like he could do anything about that. And so he was able to continue working in that environment, but, you know, get rid of his symptoms and everything that was bothering him. He became more aware, of course, and he had to change things in his daily life and diet to support his physiology more. But that's what you will learn, basically. That's what you are going to come away with. This is all like the science and everything that's going on is so wonderful that, you know, Henry shared all of this with us. But now you're going to get all the stuff like Henry was saying also, you know, like all these health issues have existed long before humans. We only discovered electricity a couple 100 years ago. But the science has been there in Ayurveda before we had electrical light bulbs and devices. And so all those ailments that Ayurveda has observed and has addressed, you are going to get the remedy deriving from all of that through this course with Vaidya Mishra. And I'm confident you're going to love it. His knowledge is pretty amazing. So
the course sounds fantastic, Dr. Molina. And I've taken a previous course, not as expanded as this one. And I came away with a lot of great information. So how do we access the course? And you can just give us a little bit of information about that.
yes, absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. So in the email that we sent today with the link, there's a link where you can go directly and sign up for the course online. It's svayurveda.com/courses, or you can just send us an email at info. I can write it in the chat now. I'll put info@prana-center.com, or you can also call us to sign up, or the website is svayurveda.com/courses. We have an early bird right now for the course. It's a big course. The actual value is 500 and it's down to 300. And you do also get some herbal remedies with this early bird rate as well. Small but very powerful, unique formulations, herbal formulations to help support your physiology shield and receive more prana so you can mitigate EMF. And sensitive people always, you know, come back and tell us, oh my God, this really works and I love it. So it's tested in that sense. So.
Dr. Molina, another question that some people have is this totally online? So I can just go on and take it anytime I want? Or is there a one-on-one, or is there a webinar?
Excellent. Yes, thank you for that question. So the course material is, it's pretty detailed and it will take, you know, your committed study. So there's videos by Vaidya Mishra. There's written materials that you can print and study. There's recipes, there's protocols, and all of this you'll have to do on your own. The course registration is open right now. And once you sign up, you know, you have a month, almost a month to study this on your own. It's ample if you do it with a little bit of discipline, a little at a time. And then on August 31st, which is a Wednesday, we will get together for a live session. This is only one live session to go over any questions or just to discuss or to clarify anything you might want further, you know, clarification on. So there will be, so it's you study on your own. The material is very nicely laid out, and Vaidya's recordings are also very nicely done and easy to understand. But we will come together as a group for one session only, and that's part of the course fee on August 31st on Wednesday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time.
Another question is, you mentioned detox today. Is there detox as part of this course, or is that something else?
So yes, that's an excellent question, Donalda. Thank you. So detox is, you will learn how to detox from EMF. which is a vibrational toxin. You will learn specific protocol for EMF detox. And we do address EMF detox, but in a more general manner when we do the seasonal detox courses, spring and autumn. But this course really focuses on helping you and teaching you how to detox from EMF. So you do learn how to detox to a certain extent. However, when you do the full detox, which is made up of 4 total toxins, the physical toxins, ama, the acidic toxins, amavisha, garavisha, which is the genobiotics, chemical toxins, and then finally EMF, and you learn this in the spring and autumn detox courses, then your body can handle better any kind of toxin, specifically EMF as well. So we do recommend, if you're interested in more detox, we do recommend you do the autumn or spring detox courses. And the autumn one is coming up. We're going to be announcing that shortly. But this EMF course today will help you will help you a lot actually with EMF detox. And then you can learn more and do the full package with the seasonal detox courses that we have.
You also mentioned in your talks the Samadhi Marma. How does that compare to what we're learning in EMF?
So Samadhi Marma is a standalone course. It's a very simple technique, but it's in depth. So it takes, we study it on its own because it's like a totally new window and it offers great insight into prana. So while the detox and the EMF course focus on, it's something negative and you're trying to shield and protect and learn things to help you on that front, the Samadhi Marma course just empowers you and it just helps you learn how to channel and use and release that cosmic energy, which is called prana, and the teaching of which is very unique to Vaidya's lineage. And it teaches you a very simple technique that's like 3 to 5 minutes that you can use morning and evening, and that will also help you with EMF, also help you with any other type of, emotional toxins and mental toxins that we also talk about in the courses. So that course is a standalone. We highly recommend you sign up and take it. It's also on our website. And you have to sign up, register for it on its own because it takes its own, amount of hours. You have to delve into it. But once you do that, then you really are covering so many fronts and it really empowers you further and makes your detox so much more significant.
Thank you, Dr. Molina. So just to summarize what you said, we have this newly introduced course on EMF from the SVA perspective. On the website right now, there's the Samadhi Marma course that you can take, and it's completely online. And if you are interested in further detox, then you can register for this fall's detox course.
Yes.
So thank you so much. So if there's anyone has any further questions, you can contact Dr. Molina through the information that she's put into the chat, and also that she sent you to get into this Zoom meeting. And we just all want to thank you so much for joining us today. This very, very exciting topic. And we hope to see all of you taking this course, and then we'll meet you again on the webinar at the end of August. Anything else you'd like to add, Dr. Molina? Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much, Donalda, and thank you so much, Henry. It was absolutely delightful having you with us and sharing your profound knowledge and professional just expertise on this really daunting topic that we are all faced with in our modern day-to-day nowadays. So it's been a joy, and let's do this again. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Namaste. See you soon. Thank you.